Welcome to CX Nexus, the podcast where we explore intersections between community and all aspects of customer experience. My name is Nicole Saunders, and I'm here with my co-host,
Chris Detzel.
Hey, Chris, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm pretty good. Nicole, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. We have our guest today is Luke Austin, Director of Analytics and Insights at Reltio. Luke, how are you?
Doing good. Enjoying some sunny weather up here in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's nice and warm here in Dallas. And how about you, Nicole? You guys get cold weather where you're at sometimes.
We do, but we're getting some springtime. It's going to be almost 70 here in Wisconsin today. We've got some blue skies. So spring is finally starting to come. It's great.
Yeah. So, Luke, you and I know each other, obviously. We've worked together what's funny is for 2.5, 3 years, however long you've been with Reltio. And then we even worked together a lot less, but we still worked at the same company at Imperva. I don't know if you remember those days, but no. But tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, what you do, and all those kinds of things, and we'll get started.
Yep. Like you said, a Director of Analytics and Insights at Reltio. I sit in marketing, but I shared resource across our go-to-market functions. So marketing, sales, customer success to some extent. And my role is spread across a couple of different areas. One, obviously, given that I sit in marketing, one of the things I focus on is helping us understand where our marketing investments are yielding returns for us, the kinds of activities that are generating outcomes in terms of pipeline creation, and other KPIs that we care about in marketing. But also, I play a large role in just our pipeline inspection at Reltio. So understanding what the current state of our pipeline is, historical trends in our pipeline, how we can use that to project what we expect to happen in out quarters. So not necessarily the current quarter, but next quarter, 2 quarters out. And then also translating that into targets for the company. When you go through our annual planning process, both understanding what we've got in pipeline, what we expect to materialize out of it in terms of bookings to help set that bookings expectation. But then once our leadership and the board is settled on our bookings targets, then translating those back into what we need to do in terms of creating pipeline for our existing customers and potential prospect customers, and then other KPIs that ladder after that. So we've got the full suite of leading indicators through pipe creation to support our booking start.
Yeah, the one thing I love about what you do, Luke, and this is what I always say to people is you need a guy named Luke Austin or somebody like Luke I'm serious, as data driven as our company is, and if you need somebody like you to really provide the guidance and the skills that you have in those things. So can you talk a little bit about like how you work with different parts of the organization? I could say,
yeah,
I'll let you do what you do best.
Yeah. So I work, obviously, I spent a lot of time working in the marketing team with folks in the marketing team, but I also spent a lot of time working with our partners in sales and in finance. And Amy Dodge, who sits on C-staff, is our VP of business operations. She doesn't have a team herself, but many of us across the organization are kind of borrowed resources for her. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time working with her. And yeah, it's pretty good mix of folks.
So, Luke, as part of the goal of our podcast here is to help educate people on how different parts of the business work. Not everybody may be familiar with the terminology pipeline and bookings. Can you give us the 101 primer? If somebody's never heard those terms, if they've heard them, they're not sure what they mean. How would you explain it?
Yep. So pipeline is just a dollar value representation of the opportunities that sales is working on. Particularly in B2B tech, there's typically a process through which interactions with people at the companies that we might be interested in doing business with get turned into something a sales guy is assigned to and is pursuing and trying to turn into business for us. So once you clear the hurdles of identifying that, yep, there's a potential business opportunity here where we're talking to somebody who's got budget, there's this common acronym BANT that's used for qualifying pipeline: budget, authority, need, and time frame. So there's a kind of standard industry, indicators. Once you're talking to somebody who has those things or represents the ability to make decisions across those 4 dimensions, typically there's this handoff process in which a salesperson, in our case, an account executive, would take that opportunity and will say, okay, there's a potentially valid deal here. And so once that happens, it's now a sales opportunity and it's considered pipeline. So it represents, there's been some level of qualification of this potential sale. And there's engagement with somebody at the customer side who has the authority and the budget. There's demonstrated need for your product. And so there's a potential sale there. So once an opportunity, once something gets in the pipeline, most companies have a whole set of stages the sales guy will take it through from early stage, just had some early conversations, established there's something potentially here to, we're in the final stages of, proof of concept, or we're in contractual discussions. And that spectrum represents like there's a whole, you can use those stages as a means of projecting what you think you'll materialize in terms of sales or bookings. So the other question you had was around bookings. So bookings is when you actually have commitment from the customer that the deal's been closed and they're paying you a certain amount for or whatever the sale is. So anyway, you can use those different stages to project for it, what you think you're going to see in terms of the bookings and really when you'll see it. So we've got a certain dollar amount in our first stage. We can expect that 15% of that will turn into bookings for us the next year. And so we can use these kind of stages to tell what's coming.
So it sounds like this is the process by which the business can predict, do we have enough sales deals in the works to hit our revenue targets for this year? We know, hey, we've got X amount in pipeline. We know that about 15% of that will typically convert.
Yep.
So sorry, I was at a conference last week, so my talking muscles are tired. But so you've got that, so you can figure out those numbers. And I imagine that helps figure out like, hey, is the sales team getting enough prospects? Is marketing generating enough potential leads? That whole machine that goes around generating business. These are the numbers that you're looking at to figure out, are we on track? Are we doing enough? Do we need to come up with a new hot product? Do we need to do a different marketing campaign? All that kind of thing to play with those pieces.
Very much. So the sales pipeline is what we can use to tell what we think is going to happen in terms of booking. So that's the first point at which there are dollars affiliated. Somebody's looked at it and said, okay, there's probably this amount of dollars associated with these potential deals.
So let's talk a little bit about that sort of what I often refer to as, or here referred to as the top of the funnel, right? This is how you're bringing in those initial prospects so that you have a pipeline. What are some of the teams that you work with and that have a role to play in getting those leads in there in the first place?
So top of funnel is an interesting term in and of itself, because the more time you spend talking with marketing and sales and other parts of the business, the terms don't always mean the same thing so from a sales perspective, top of the funnel typically means that's when they use the word top of the funnel, they're typically referring to like early stage pipeline. And from a marketer's perspective, that's like way bottom of the funnel. Most marketing teams are like, oh, the end point is getting at the pipeline. Once we've done that, we've done our job, and now it's in sales hands.
So I'm hearing there's funnels within funnels.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's the sales funnel, which starts at the first stage of pipeline and goes through bookings. And there's a marketing funnel, which exists entirely before that. One thing that's important when you're talking among these different functions is to align on that vocabulary, or if not, make sure that you're using it the same way that they understand it. But so to your question about top of the funnel in this case, it sounds like it's more about the pre-pipeline activities that a marketing team might execute to engage with people at prospect accounts. And so I'm using my terminology very carefully, because in reality, we've gone through this transition in the last year from a lead to opportunity process where we were focused on generating leads, or basically getting names in our database and trying to convert those individuals into opportunities, which is a pretty standard process. But for products like ours, that are $1 million purchases and there are, a dozen people involved in the decision-making process, putting all your eggs in one person's basket early in the sales evaluation process is risky. Somebody came to our website, downloaded the Gartner market guide, and we pointed BDR at them and called them, and we put all our eggs in getting through to this guy and converting him into an opportunity. If he gets busy or he's doing something else, or that dies early on, we lose contact. And so we've shifted to this model where we're looking at, rather than thinking of accumulating leads, we're trying to engage with companies and individuals of this company. And so in our case, the universe of potential companies we can sell to is probably 6,000 companies. We sell to big companies, and there's a finite number of them in the world. But then we can pre-populate our view of the market in our systems like Salesforce. You put a company in there for every one of these companies we could sell to. And now we're just trying to light up the dashboard on these companies. That same guy downloads Gartner Magic Quadrant, and somebody else attends a webinar, and somebody else we talk to an event. And suddenly there are 3 different data points. And so that's really interesting for us. We want to prioritize that account and get a BDR trying to talk to those 3 people and get those into sales. So by the time sales receives it, they got the beginnings of a team of people on a buying team that they can pursue. So that was a long segue. It wasn't the question you asked, but I wanted to,
no worries,
to take a second to talk about how we're thinking about that top of funnel activity right now.
And I imagine this is different in every organization, right? So anybody that's listening should probably go figure out how your company uses this terminology, because each organization may have a different process, may have slightly different terminology, may mean slightly different things.
Yeah, and the way we describe that is ABX, so account-based experience. I'm not off there. That's really what that process is about, is the ABX. So there's three people from one account doing something on your website or going to an event or whatever it is, doing those things. And there's a term for it. And it's working for us really well. So go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely right. The idea was, the sales team and their sales process is selling to an account. They're identifying multiple people at the account. That's just how they sell. But in marketing, it's all about getting that lead and converting that lead into an opportunity. And so the idea is, let's shift the way we think about marketing and market to accounts and see if we can find the accounts where that we're getting multiple engagements and pass those along to our sales team. So as opposed to having all of that focus beyond, this one person did this one thing, maybe we get multiple signals of lower level engagement across an account. And that's a better indicator that there's a potential opportunity there.
So Luke, what is one thing about the work that you do that you wish more people in your organization knew?
It's a good question. I think one, just from a where I end up spending my time, I think there's probably decent appreciation of this, but in the forums where I'm sharing information, most of what people see are slides and visualizations and stuff. And the Tableau is the lens through which a lot of what I do is seen. But most of my time doesn't go into developing visualizations and dashboards. Most of my time is spent on data preparation. So sourcing data from different systems, doing all the ETL and transformation, constructing the KPIs, finding automated ways to keep tabs on all these different areas of the business that we feel are important. And so there's always a tension between additional things people want to see, ad hoc asks, and can you build this and can you do that? And there's finite resources because it's just me. And so there's making sure that I'm aligned with my leadership on what the key priorities are is extremely important, because I think sometimes there's a perception it's easy to just be an on-demand reporting resource for anybody who wants whatever thing popped up today. It's important to them today. And it's not necessarily the case, especially given the breadth of things that we need to keep tabs on. We have to pay careful attention to investing time and resources where we can, one, that are, areas that are going to drive business outcomes, and two, that we can scale, because I'm, just one person.
Absolutely.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure.
And Nicole's done such a good job at Zendesk. She has a few people on her team over the last 7 years. Couple questions though. I want to shift this to community-like stuff. And one of the things that I've tried to do a lot of is think about business outcomes for our community. And Luke, as I've worked with you over the last, I guess it's been 2 years, specifically you and I hands-on doing some stuff together. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing within community engagement, shows, those webinars, whatever that you do specifically? And I just want to get you, I'm trying not to lead you too much here because I want to get your view of outcomes that you've seen and that might have surprised you or not? I don't know, because it's
Yep.
really the first
Yep.
time you've really worked with somebody like
No,
me on the
absolutely.
now. So go ahead.
Yeah. There are several things that have surprised me. So first off, as a consequence of us transitioning to this account-based view, where we're pulling together all the stuff that happens in the account rather than trying to find the person who filled out the form and pass them to a BDR, there are things that start to appear in a way that we wouldn't have seen before. So the community shows are actually an amazing example of that. So we've applied this same account-based view to not just prospect accounts, but existing customer account with the intention of identifying where there are potential upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So selling more to customers that are already customers and understanding who is engaging with us at these customer accounts and what they're doing is important to that. And accounts that are engaging with us more, consuming more of our content in ways that we may not have been aware of, is important. And in the old world, most of what we would have been aware of collectively as an organization from a customer would have been direct interactions with the salesperson. And those are important. Those relationships are important. But there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on that, was flying under the radar before. And so the community shows are an excellent example of that. One of the things that we've started paying a lot of attention to this fiscal year, which for us started in February, as a big priority for our business, is driving expansion bookings. So again, selling more to our existing customer base. And as part of that, one of the things we're starting to surface is where customers are engaging with us. And last week we were looking at quarter to date engagements, and our community shows were like 50% of all customer engagements were from these community shows that Chris has been churning out weekly almost. And they're on a variety of topics about our product. It's super focused on things that are of interest to our customers relative to Realty Out. And so it's a great source of information about which accounts are engaging with us and what they're consuming. And the community shows in particular have been huge drivers of an increase in engagement this quarter. First of all, they've been the primary driver of engagement, going into last year, but especially this quarter, we've seen a huge uptick in engagement. And we're looking at engagement across a number of different channels. So the community shows are one community platform, Higher Logic, also like our paid search and engagement staff on our website, interaction with our sales guys, and just the volume of engagements from community shows has just been eye-opening. And the other thing that we look at is the correlation between engagements on these different channels and the eventual creation of pipeline at these accounts. So essentially what we're trying to understand is the relationship between engagements and the appearance of pipeline, because we don't always have a definitive link between the two, but if we can correlate them, it's a good indicator. And we're seeing a lot of pipeline materialize at these accounts where we're seeing high engagement and the community shows. So yeah, definitely,
I'll be
a
interested.
driver.
I appreciate that insight because I think that's important as community leaders for us to think about the true business outcomes of what we're doing. We've got to try to connect, whether it's pipeline, whether it's retention, whether it's product adoption, whatever that is. I think that's important. And I know Nicole hears me talk about this all the time. As a matter of fact, she's probably, Chris, we're talking about this again. But
I don't think you can overemphasize the importance of measuring community impact, because at the end of the day, every community team has to show that they've got an impact on the business. And it's got to be something beyond the engagement of posts and likes and page views. It's got to be the kinds of things that you're talking about. Okay, it's how is that actually playing into the decision making about lifetime expansion and sales and all of those kinds of things.
And I think when you get into a forum where you can show a dollar impact on pipeline from community interactions against more traditional forms of engagement, your digital advertising, stuff on the website, and you can show that from a dollars of pipeline perspective, the community is having a big impact. That's a powerful, it allows you to communicate to stakeholders across the business and different functions in a way that they can understand, because it's dollars now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anytime you can translate dollars to whatever you're doing, you're on the right track.
That's job security right there.
Maybe. One thing that I would say is And we haven't touched upon this because we really haven't looked at. So when our members log in, when they post, when they like, when they reply, we are looking at that information. We're not prioritizing those particular engagements or anything yet. But whenever people are looking at the dashboard, like BDRs or others, they know that one of the actions that particular customer took or even prospect, they logged in the community or that they replied or liked or whatever, right? It's not just those community shows or webinars, live webinars that we're tracking. I want to try future looking for me. And I want to see and think about kind of the prioritization of those particular engagements and whether or not they mean something. I don't know. Like I'm not clear on that. And I think we got that in there. And that was my first kind of thinking around that look, but we'll see. I'll be interested to see if that pans out in any way. It's a test.
Yeah. So what Chris is alluding to is we built, as part of this transformation of looking at accounts, we built this tool for our AEs and our BDRs that allows them to look at all of their accounts, prioritize them based on where they are or where we believe they are in a sales cycle, looking at their history of engagements and so forth. And one of the things we've done is we've taken all the data from Higher Logic, which is the community platform, and pulled it in and mixed it together with all of our other data about interactions. And so that our AEs and BDRs can see when they look at Wells Fargo, here are the 13 people at Wells Fargo who have engaged with us, and here's the 50 individual things those 13 people did. And so in that forum, now the BDRs and AEs can say, oh man, this Joe at Wells Fargo has been all over our community. Maybe we should talk to that guy.
Exactly. Any other questions, Nicole?
So I'm curious, we've talked about you're seeing the value of those community interactions, you're measuring it, you're starting to put a dollar value to it. Have you started to see some trends? Are you seeing impacts where your accounts that engage in the community are spending a little bit more with the company than others? Or is it too early to tell?
It's a good question. We are seeing an increase in expansion pipeline overall, and we're seeing an increase in pipeline we attribute to the engagements in the community shows. You could make a case that there's a causative relationship there. We're seeing more engagement in the communities and we're seeing in the community and we're seeing an increase in pipeline. I think there's some evidence, some early evidence that's the case, but we haven't gone through and done an analysis of on average, do we see more business with companies that are more engaged in the community? But it's probably a pretty strong hypothesis that we might.
Yeah, and I think so as well. And to be fair, some opportunities for us is we're not looking at every single engagement across the entire organization at the moment. There's a big opportunity for us to do some things like training. Maybe we can incorporate, or is our customers taking training courses? Are we attributing that to the model? Are they, or CSMs, they're in Gainsight, are they talking to and doing these QBRs with their customers? And maybe that's an attribution that we should add to the engagement piece or whatever, right? Like some of that I think we should think about. I'm not sure. It's hard to do some of that. We do have other projects going on that might allow us to do more of that in the future. More to come on that. I don't know if that's fair to say. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Anything we missed, Luke, that you can think of that you would want people to know about what you do and all that kind of stuff?
No, I think especially as it relates to community functions, I think it's probably a good intersection of where the measurement comes into play for the work that you've been doing and how we're showcasing it, and among the portfolio of other activities that are done and where it's starting to shine.
Great. Thanks, Luke. I appreciate that. Nicole?
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Luke. And for the community professionals listening out there, go make friends with your marketing intelligence team. Make sure that you're hanging out with the Lukes at your company and getting to know them, because there's so much great information you can get once you start connecting those dots.
It's really crazy. Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone, go ahead, Nicole. I'm going to let you shut us down here.
Thank you, Luke. Once again, for CX Nexus, I'm Nicole Saunders with.
And I'm Chris Detzel.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Take care.